in the first 100 to 200 days in office, what should citizens expect to see if you're elected as president, sir?
Day one, hit the ground running. Day two, continue running. Day three, don't rest. Think and do. Select the best teams that will help build a better Nigeria. Teamship is crucially important. And giving the people opportunity to exercise their talents in turning the shape of the nation and retooling the mindset. Do we believe in ourselves? Or do we continue to make mouse migration? Definitely. Definitely. The security challenge must be eliminated. With technology, human beings attract more people into the army, given, voluntary army and the equipment necessary, all the tools to fight insecurity must be employed to have a nation that is confident, bold, and peaceful, seeking prosperity for these people. And that's what we do.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Thank you so much. So what are those key things that you would like to run with in the first 100 to 200 days in office? What should citizens expect to see, given the current situation in the country as has been presented by our colleague who is the Director of Research of the NESG?
Well, I think, thank you. The first thing, without which there's no other, the other ones will never follow, is the issue of security. We'll aggressively, from day one, start dealing with the issue of insecurity, which have said that the enemies are no more formidable. I've traveled all over Nigeria. I've been to places that people said you can't go, like I mentioned. I've been to Pew in southern Borno. I went to Katangu in southern Gombe, where they say we shouldn't go. I went to Mubi in Adamawa. People ask them, why Mubi? As governor, I buried one day 20 Anambarians who were killed in Mubi. So when I arrived at Adamawa, I said, leave Yola, I want to go to Mubi. And again, they told me the same thing. These places you're going, you're not secure, we didn't have police, we don't have anything, and everything. I said, well, let's go there. People live there. I went to places, so issue of security of life and property is our number one priority, without which there won't be any other. Following that is the issue of trying to bring in some intangible assets that I can call low-hanging fruits, ensuring the rule of law, law and order, and a great environment that will start making people to have confidence to start investing in this. And of course, our main mantra is to remove country from consumption to production. As you can see in the presentation, you see that everything here revolves around lack of production and not doing the right things, being a productive country. That's basically what we'll focus aggressively from day one.
Okay. Thank you, Your Excellency. So within those first 100 to 200 days, we expect to see traction in the area of security?
I can tell you that from day one, activity in Anambra, from day one. Because there's no other thing to do. The president is not even secure today. They're telling him places to go, and he said, you can see the president now being asked not to come to a state. So what else is he going to do if he cannot even move around? So from day one, even as I speak now, I'm the only candidate who have said I've interviewed the IG of police, I've interviewed all the security heads. The day I went to see the IG of the present IG of police, he told me where he was. I said, listen, I don't want to go into office and start telling people what I saw when I come in. I want to see everything from outside. So if it's not possible, let me stay where I am. So from day one.
Okay, thank you, Your Excellency. Now we have, has been highlighted, through the presentations today, the country has experienced, economic growth. Unfortunately, a lot of the growth that we have seen has not translated to improved living conditions for the average citizen. And, some of those things, get us to think around how this has contributed possibly to the rising unemployment levels. Youth unemployment is at unprecedented levels. Even people who are currently employed, some of them are actually underemployed, and we see all those things. What sort of strategies, especially with a focus on the youth, would you employ to tackle issues related to unemployment in the country right now?
Private sector driven opportunity, tackle the power problem head on. People can work by themselves. A common school driver can create a path to fortune if electricity is taken care of and other infrastructural areas. Carrying them along. And the change of mindset, I will repeat that over and over again. Patriotic commitment, the conversion of negativity to a positive drive, and partnership with the private sector to create a job, to put an incentive there. If you hire 500 new employees, why can't I, as a government, give you some tax incentive to offset that payroll and the pension contribution that may be associated with it? I don't want to sit here and reveal all my strategy. I am the first speaker among the three of us running. So they will spy on me. So you will have a limited answer here today. Another day you can bring me back. But that's part of what I do.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Our numbers, have been presented here today, suggest that there's been economic growth, but that growth has not translated to improved socioeconomic conditions. It has not even translated to improved living standards. Living standards at an all-time low in Nigeria as we speak. And then given the rising unemployment and underemployment, with youth disproportionately bearing the burden of this unemployment crisis, what are your thoughts around improving or scaling employment opportunities when you assume office?
Well, for me, when you move, like I said, from consumption to production, what I expect that comes with issue of creating jobs. Today, you have most of even from the rest that have been shown here, you have most of your states, most of the subnationals virtually living on sharing whatever they can get from statutory allocation. You know, there's nothing happening. Even the so-called productive sectors like our manufacturing sector, everything, look at the percentage our manufacturing sector contribute to GDP. That's less than 10%. If you check all other countries, that's the comparable countries, it's about twice that, minimum. The agriculture, which is actually contributing more in terms of almost 26%, again, those who are involved in that sector will even tell you they're not doing anything where it should be, considering that near over 50% of our arable lands are cultivated. So there's a lot of improvement on that. And you see a lot of government measures that is being advertised in TV. They only end up in TV. Most of them are actually not scaled down to where they will be. You only hear those good figures on TV. So we're going to do it differently. Where we're going to ensure that all those programs and everything are actually executed in a manner where they support the industries. But you can't do all this without dealing with the issue of power. And I've said that if you do the right support to power generation, transmission, and distribution, considering that it's been shown that power alone, if you get it right, can add up to 2% to your GDP. We are looking at figure 3. So if we have a sector that can add another 2, I'll do everything possible. We'll do everything possible to ensure that that sector is up and running. And then consider that manufacturing is where you're going to create jobs. If you look at our manifesto, we say we're going to have an agrarian revolution that will support the industries and lead to exports. In doing all this, you'll be able to create jobs and be able to start pulling people out of poverty.
Thank you. What specific sectors would you be focusing on? Because the scale of the problem is huge. So what sort of sectors will you be focusing on to?
Agriculture. Manufacturing. And we support it in such a way that it focus on export. There's other areas where you can, of course, try to develop more, even in entertainment, even other areas that have shown growth from what is happening in ICT. But these are the fundamental things that a target that Nigeria must feed itself. Because we have our biggest physical access is uncultivated land in the north. And when we talk about poverty and youth unemployment, the north is where it is worse. And that focus on the north, considering that there are vast uncultivated land. I was telling somebody yesterday how I went to prison to discuss Niger State. You have 7 local governments in Niger State is under control of bandits. I discussed with the governor, the present governor. He can't even go there. Nobody goes there. Schools there, everything is shut down. So what I do is that I took a tour. I went to the prison to see the young boys who are causing this problem, who have been arrested. Why did you do this? He said they have no job. Said, so how much were you paid in the last operation? 20,000, 30,000. None of them was paid more than 30,000. And that's what they paid them to kill somebody. And I compared that. I went to Kenya. I went to the flower fields where young people were cultivating flower. They were being paid $100. And unemployment in Kenya is less than 10%. I went to Ethiopia and saw where we were picking coffee. And unemployment is there. So, agriculture, if well supported, Niger State has fertile land that I can compare to the best in the world. Some of the people who are involved with agriculture here, and they can educate me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure it is because I saw it. And I came to the governor and said, Governor, you live on 776.3 thousand square kilometers of land. And all you get every year for statutory allocation is less than 50 billion naira. And this vast land is here, all cultivated. And I gave him an example. I said, it might not be a perfect example because you can say this is Western world. I told him, I said, Netherlands with 33,000 square kilometers, which you have 2.5 times, did agriculture export of $120 billion in 2021. If you do 5% of that, that's $6 billion, which are 650. Sorry, bankers will say it's 420. I don't buy 420, I'm very sorry. So it's 620, it's about 3.9 trillion. Almost 80 times what you get from sharing. So there's a lot we can do with the vast uncultivated land in the north. For me, that is where we should key in. When I met Shehu of Boronu, it was something I told him. You can't have this vast land, everything. Yes, the complaint issue of dams and everything. I said, but we have flooding somewhere. Why can't we start, we get the experts to tell us how to divert this water instead of causing us problem when we need it somewhere to do somewhere. There must be a way. These things are done today. So we can create dams and everything and all that. So this is my focus.
Thank you. Now, we see right now that our borrowing projections exceed revenue expectations. So we're borrowing even more than the revenue coming in. And the quality of the borrowing, we're borrowing to service debt. We have an impending debt crisis. We're also borrowing, to pay even PMS subsidy. So what are your thoughts around alternative funding models for the country as we look at the outlook for 2023? What sort of alternative funding models will you be thinking about? Because the borrowing is not sustainable.
Well, first is to discuss borrowing. There's nothing wrong in borrowing. Absolutely. It is what you use what you borrowed for to do. Borrowing is no country of the world that I know that is not borrowing money. None of them that I know that does not have debt. All of them. Even Norway with the 1.4 trillion sovereign wealth, it's still borrowing. Everybody borrows. Every country we've used as an example, even people those who are sophisticated, some professors, with my little experience as a trader, I know that the biggest country, which is America, today have almost 90% debt to GDP. Second one, China, have over 60 to GDP. Japan is 230. Even Singapore, people cite every day, it's 130% debt to GDP. The problem we have as a country is that the money we borrowed was just simply disappeared. Some swallowed by snakes, some swallowed by this. So nobody knows where the money went. So borrowing is not a problem. We will borrow more. I can assure you. We will restructure. Yesterday, I had a banker, a very top banker that I respect. He said to me, Peter, I'm worried about this. They said it's 70. If you add 40-something to 23, what that means? But you didn't add the borrowing of this year's budget, which is about 7 trillion. So it's about 77 now by the time we conclude this year. So he said, how are you going to deal with it? I said, well, listen, countries have been worse than that. And I can show you using an example of 2 countries that borrowed in the past few years. So we will first restructure what is existing today. After which, we will now, one of the things I said I'll do, that I must take a law to National Assembly to ensure that all our borrowing, like it's in Singapore, is for investment. And there must be investment everybody can see. On Thursday, I was in Bauchi, and I said to people, let's go and visit the tomb of Tafawa Balewa. My vice presidential candidate asked me, Peter, why? And I said to them, for what this man did, our first loan as a country was borrowed in 1964 by Tafawa Balewa. June 17th, he wrote the World Bank to borrow $82 million to build 760 megawatts of electricity generation in Kainji Dam. 59 years after, Kainji Dam is still standing, even contributing in its own small way. But today, our debt is 77 trillion. If you use their official rate, because they use the official rate to calculate, let me not use my rate now, it's $187 billion. $82 million in 64 is about 1.2, 1.4 now. So if I use 1,250,000,000, that money is about 150 Kainji dams. Where is it? That is the problem of our borrowing. Lagos about the express road, the last time I checked, to complete it, is just about 250 billion naira. East-West Road, which is where we get the oil from, everything, the most important road there, in Niger Delta, was about 300 and something billion. Kaduna, Abuja, Kaduna, Kano. These three roads is just about 1 trillion. And they tell you that the money they borrowed is for capital projects. Which capital project is more important than these three? At least we can see it. We can feel it. You say, oh, this is... We've borrowed almost over 50 trillion in the past 5 years.
Wow.
That was all probably 70% swallowed by snake.